Hi, greetings. It's me, Dr. Paul Gerhardt. And today I want to talk about attitudes and values and ethics. And you've probably heard the saying that your attitude affects your altitude. And I'll say that again. Your attitude affects your altitude. And it really is true. We get to create our own successes and failures. And those of us who think it's everybody else's fault that things are not going right, I highly suggest you take an honest look at how you've contributed to situations in your life. You know, we don't always know what we know until we really can take a deep reflection on, you know, how we've interacted and how we should have reacted in any particular situation. So I'm not saying that everything is 100% your fault, but I think it's pretty darn close. You know, it's not what happens to us that matters, it's what we choose to do, you know, in any situation. And how we react to things truly matters. So sometimes we feel slighted because we don't get away with things that we think we can get away with. But making sure that we're being ethical is really kind of at the core of almost all successes. You know, being ethical isn't just sticking to our own personal values. It really has to do with being aware of what the expectations are of other people that you're interacting with. You know, in any group, if you understand that there are either written or mutually known values of an organization or a team that you're in, you kind of have to adhere to those. You don't even have to adhere. If you don't adhere to doing what's expected in your organization, then you are acting unethically. You know, and then we can take extremes. They're like universal actions that are of being unethical. You know, in most cases, lying to someone else, betraying trust of other people is unethical. You know, breaking the laws, you know, or set written standards, you know, norms that are expected. So acting against them could be unethical. You know, obviously hurting other people or killing other people, those are other extremes about doing things in an unethical way, you know, that affect other people. So really it is the impact that we have on other people that we always have to be considering. Sometimes our intent may be good, but the impact of our choices, that's where we really have to take a look at. You know, are we really doing the right thing for the right reasons, or are we being selfish about things? And you are the only one that can answer that particular question. I want to start this conversation off with a little short essay written by the creator of Dilbert cartoon, Mr. Scott Adams. And he published a short article that he calls Happiness Button. And he says, suppose humans were born with a magical button on their foreheads. When someone else pushes the button, it makes you happy. But like tickling, it only works when someone else presses it. Imagine that it's easy to use. You just reach over, press it once, and the other person becomes wildly happy for a few minutes. What would happen in such a world? You can imagine that everyone in the world would be happy just about all the time. People would make agreements with each other to push each other's buttons on a regular basis, thus guaranteeing the complete and utter happiness of all humans. No, I can't imagine that either. The first thing that would happen is that we'd create some rules of etiquette saying that you can't press anyone's button without explicit permission. That makes sense, since sometimes you need to get some work done. And happiness can make you lose focus, right? You wouldn't want people making you happy against your wishes. The next thing that would happen is that people would realize that they can sell button pushing as a service. People would stop giving it away for free. You'd be begging people to press your button, and that would just seem pathetic. You might get some takers for a brief button-pushing fling, but that would get tiresome to push someone's button every few minutes all day. Perhaps some people would give their button-pushing services away for free to anyone who asked. Let's call those people generous, or as they would become known in this hypothetical world, crazy sluts. Button pushing would become an issue of power and politics within relationships and within business. The rich and famous would get their buttons pushed all day long, while the lonely would fantasize about how great that would be. I can't think of any imaginary situation in which long-term happiness could come from either people. The best you can hope for is that other people won't thwart your efforts to make yourself happy. And I like sharing that little essay by Scott Adams because it really makes you think about how silly it is to rely on other people to make you happy. You know, we do know that after studying job satisfaction, and that happy employees generally are more productive and have higher levels of performance. And when leaders can teach employees about the purpose and meaning of internal locus of control. My successes are because I've created my own successes, and my failures are really about my choices. And so it's not anybody else's fault that I am where I am today. It's my own choices that have affected where I am today. So people with an internal locus of control, generally speaking, are highly motivated. These are the people who recognize that they can create any kind of outcome that they wish if they put their mind to it. But the key really is to have a positive attitude and really recognize your own locus of control. So it's one of the biggest influencers, or two of the biggest influencers of our own behavior, really has to do with values and self-concept. We really need to believe in our own selves. We really have to recognize our own value. And we have to take a look at what our own values are, because what we value helps shape our own actions. If you think it's okay to steal, you're probably stealing. And then when you get caught and you're angry, you're probably getting angry because you got caught, and you can't figure out why people are upset that you stole from them. But if you value things like absolute honesty all the time, or you value hard work, or you value collegiality and teamwork, those are what's going to influence you to be even better at being a better team member, or be a better, harder worker. So create your own success by recognizing that you truly can create any kind of success you want to. Some people have been walking for a long time, but some people are still crawling. And I'm using that as an analogy for whatever a person is trying to accomplish. You cannot become an attorney or a doctor or a manager unless you take the steps to get to where you need to be. It doesn't make any sense to hire someone without proper training or experience in a job, or experience in something similar to what they've done. So be easy on yourself. How you manage your time, that's where you're going to get your best results. So if you really believe that you can accomplish anything, you got to have a clear plan of action to help get you there. So part of our success really comes from our personality combined with our self-concept. And some of us really need to listen to our language that we use with ourselves. If you find yourself using negative language towards yourself, that's probably not a very good sign that you feel very good about yourself. If you are constantly saying things about how smart you are, or how hardworking you are, or how handsome or beautiful you are, I don't think that's really conceited. I think you need to be your biggest fan, and maybe you probably shouldn't be telling your best friends that you think that you're beautiful, or that you think you're handsome, or that you think you're so smart. I mean, there's a lot to be said about humility, but being humble and recognizing that you truly are a person of true value and worth is important. And if you're not the person that you're proud of, create a plan of action for you to be the person that you want to be. You know, it's one of my favorite theories is from McGregor, Theory X and Theory Y. And this came out in the late 1960s. And essentially, McGregor says Theory X, managers believe that people are lazy and that they'll try to get away with not doing very much. And if you as a manager believe that about your employees, you're probably treating them as such. And some people may say you're a micromanager, and maybe you are. Maybe you are knowing people to be their very best and you need things done your way rather than allowing them to be creative and find even better ways of doing things. So Theory Y, on the other hand, states that you believe people want to work hard and will give their best, and all you have to do is trust them and empower them and give them the right resources. Theory Y. You see how much better that sounds? But it's the attitude of the manager that often affects the success of their teams. You know, the managers have the most influence over a team member, even more than a peer. So if you are being a Theory X manager, check your belief system. You know, chances are you probably hired the best people, and then it's been you that's been running them down by micromanaging them or restricting them or being condescending to them. It doesn't feel good. Most of us have been talked to in a condescending way, and we know how bad that feels. Granted, if someone talks to me in a condescending way, it makes me think about what I've done to earn that. And if I owe someone an apology, you know, my character makes me take a step back and figure out how to apologize in a sincere way and show that person that I won't do it again. I need to own what's mine to own, but I can't own what's not mine to own. That's not fair, and I won't hold myself accountable for that. You know, I'll do my best and I'll be human and own my mistakes. And I think that really is a great way of being. And everybody makes mistakes. So if you are a manager and you have people who make mistakes, be understanding and tolerant, but recognize that every interaction that you have with employees shapes the level of trust that you have with those employees, and it also affects how people see themselves, because we all have the power to influence other people. So really give people the benefit of the doubt as much as possible. One of my favorite theories is called the Pygmalion Effect, and I'll say that again, it's the Pygmalion Effect. You know, if you are a leader and you say, I've got the best team here, they are always on time, they do their best to make sure they're excellent in working with other people, and when they have questions, I can always count on them to come to me and answer those questions so we can help get things better. I've got the best team possible. Now, that kind of is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you're using that kind of language and you really believe it, chances are that your people are going to be giving their very best. They're going to be working better in teams because you've helped them understand what you expect, and you've set that tone verbally for them to really hear and understand. But likewise, it also works the opposite way. You could be saying, gosh, you're never on time, or I just can't count on you, or what the heck is going on with you? You are just so incompetent. You know, that kind of negative language probably is planting seeds in their brains too, and you're going to get the self-fulfilling prophecy of people, you know, not being the best that they can. And it's probably because you didn't understand how much power your words are as a leader. So keep things positive. Be very clear about your expectations. Bring people gently back to meeting your expectations. Another theory is Attribution Theory. And we sometimes justify what we do based on what we observe or what we believe to be true. And so, like, sometimes when something happens, you know, where maybe you see someone that has stolen a loaf of bread from the grocery store, and you could go, wow, there is really an evil person there. I can't believe that person just stole. Or if you've shopped at that store before and you know that the manager constantly shortchanges people who are in there all the time, or is jacking up prices higher than the competition and is doing things that are unethical and fair, you might say, well, that store manager deserves it. And so I don't blame him. I would steal things too. So we really need to be aware of, sometimes things aren't what they are, but how we justify what we do is really important to consider. So it's interesting how, like that person was speeding. This happens all the time. Someone was speeding or gets into in front of you in your lane, and you could either say, oh my goodness, that jerk, that was so unsafe. Or you could take a step back and say, oh, I hope everything's okay. That person looks like they're in a hurry. I bet they're on their way to the hospital and something has happened. Wow, I'm hoping things are fine with those people. So we really need to be aware of our perceptions in any situation, because it could affect our levels of stress, of course, but it also could affect our relationships with everybody. But in some way, we're always justifying what we do. And so this is why I say, attitudes really are everything. And if you want to change your attitude, there really are about 3 steps to doing it. 1, you need to be aware of your attitude. When you feel negative feelings, or you hear yourself saying something negative, you need to recognize that rarely will that ever lead to anything positive. You can't throw a bunch of negatives in and expect to get a positive. You're making deposits. Make positive deposits with your attitude. You get to choose your attitude. 2, realize that there really are few benefits of harboring a negative attitude or holding a grudge. I know that I am certainly not perfect, but why would I want to harm myself by holding on to a negative attitude? I don't want to have any bad relationships. If I make a mistake, I need to own my own mistakes. And if I harm someone, I need to make it right. I would never intentionally do anything to harm anybody, but we're harming relationships when we're bringing bad attitudes and not being forgiving of other people. So I think there's a lot of power into going, you know what, I don't need to hold on to this hate for this other person. It's not doing any good. That person was probably doing the best they could at the time. I forgive them. And it could be something really serious that has happened to you. But think about it. What can you really do about something? Because you can't change the past. And number 3, it's helpful to keep an open mind and really listen to other people's input. Sometimes when you're in something that feels very real or negative, seeing the other side of things or other sides of things from other people really can help enlighten you. I don't know how many times when I felt negative about a particular situation because my perception was that this person had bad intent. But really coming back and listening to why people did what they did really made me realize that most people are good, and it was my own perception that was skewed, and things actually ended up turning out better. But I chose my attitude, and that helps. Sometimes when something negative happens, it's really important to think about other things that make you feel positive, because that can kind of help clear up your mind. No, this isn't nothing. I get to go and do this other thing. I get to go spend quality time with my son or my daughter. It's really kind of interesting that, and I've heard it a lot, is some people say, well, I like my kids, but I don't like other kids. And listening to kids yell and scream or be disrespectful, that just makes me mad when I'm at the grocery store or whatever. But when their own kids do it, they're a little like, hey, come here, sweetheart, don't do that. That's not, there's a difference in attitudes with your own. And so really being able to find joy in every situation, and taking a step back. Most things aren't going to harm you if other people are doing it. And so kind of giving, natural love to other people and looking for ways to find joy in every situation really is your choice. So, and that says a lot about your self-concept. We really must have a positive self-concept. And here's 4 things to help you build your positive self-concept. Number 1, view mistakes as learning experiences. We're always going to make mistakes, and especially when we're doing something for the very first time. So if a mistake happens, you can't change the past. So just go, wow, there's a lesson learned. I'll have to remember to do that again. 2, accept failure and bounce back. Wow, that felt bad that happened. That wasn't what I expected. But I'll be okay. Nobody got hurt in this situation, or they'll heal, or I'll heal. Good lesson learned. I'll have to not do that again. So accept failure and bounce back. 3, control negative behavior and thoughts. Too often I've raised my voice when something that was out of my control happened, and me raising my voice has damaged relationships. So really being aware that you can't have negative behavior or negative thoughts that will help in any situation. So keep your thoughts positive. Think before you act. Be positive with other people. You don't want to damage relationships, because relationships truly are fragile. And then the 4th final thing is to tap into your own spirituality. What makes you whole? What makes you realize that you can accomplish anything? And sometimes that's reading a good uplifting book, or going to the beach, or going camping, or spending time with family, or doing things that you truly love, like a hobby. So there you go. View mistakes as learning experiences, accept failure and bounce back, control negative behaviors and thoughts, and 4, tap into your spirituality. So having integrity probably is the most important trait that any leader can possibly have. Having integrity means that, I like the saying, you're always doing the right thing even when nobody is looking. And that means you're always being, honest. And integrity and not being honest, they are not synonymous terms, but they're often used synonymously, because being honest means that you're reporting things accurately all the time. And being a person of integrity means that people aren't going to be questioning your intentions. So do the right thing for the right reason all the time without compromise. You can't talk about people behind their backs, or they'll think that when they're not around, you're talking about them behind their backs. Being a person of integrity means that you need to be doing the right thing all the time. Be a good person. Talking badly about people, harming other people, stealing from other people, trying to get away with things that you know are not right, or doing things that are unethical, those are the things that diminish relationships. So do the right thing for the right reasons. As a leader, there are lots of opportunities for you to help people be the best they can. So you've got to model what you expect. And if you have an employee that's being negative, you really got to nip that in the hind end. Bring them into your office. Talk to them privately. You've got to give employees feedback and make them aware about how their negative attitudes are affecting other people. Offer suggestions. Help them really understand the consequences of their actions. So 1, give employees feedback. 2, accentuate positive conditions. Really help them see things from other perspectives. There's probably more positive in most situations, or at least some positive in every situation that you can help them see. And 3, provide consequences. They need to recognize that what they do affects other people. And so provide consequences to them. You can't have people destroying your team because an attitude is a choice. And then the fourth thing is be a positive role model. You got to walk your walk and talk your talk. And so keep it positive. If you're a leader, your attitude is going to affect other people. Don't be condescending. Model what it is that you really want of other people. And you've got to be very clear about that. So leadership makes a difference. Let's talk about job satisfaction. Job satisfaction, we know that the work itself contributes to job satisfaction. Pay, believe it or not, I know everyone knows that, but it's not the most important thing. Growth and upward mobility. Supervision itself, is the supervisor supportive and helps give resources and clarify understanding? Even making sure that people have the right training and tools is important. And then the coworkers too. Do you have a cohesive team that helps support accomplishment of tasks and goals? Everything needs to be win-win situations. Every interaction with another person, you've got to be thinking, what does a win look like for this person? What does a win-win look like for me and for everybody else involved? Building trust. Trust is the glue of all relationships. So when levels of trust are low, you've got to do things to build trust up again and never violate expectations. And then self-efficacy. People really need to believe that they can do anything they set their mind to. And we have a lot of power to help other people along the way. How to shape and change employees' attitudes. We've already talked about. Be very clear on what's expected of people, and really look at how you can shape the way that they see the world, because how people see the world affects what they do, which affects what they get. Good exercise for helping you have a lot of clarity is recognizing what your own strengths are. Capitalize on. Well, the things that we're stronger on, those are the things that we really should be focusing on, believe it or not. What areas that need improvement? It's good to focus on if there are expectations and skills that you need. It's good to recognize what those are, things to improve those things. Most leaders know that it's smarter to put people into tasks and jobs that are directly related with people's strengths. So you need to be able to articulate what your strengths are. So do a self-assessment and figure out what your strengths are. You'll be most happy if you see yourself progressing towards your goals. So be aware of what your short-term goals are, things that you want to accomplish in 1 or 2 years, and then what your ultimate long-term goals are. Do you want to have a position in a company, or do you want to retire at a certain age? Do you want to be making a certain income, so by a certain amount of years? So be very aware of short-term goals and long-term goals. And then finally, what really is important in your life? That helps clarify things. You want to spend more time with your family? Do you want to do more traveling? Do you want to work on personal development? What parts of your current and future career are really important to you? So really taking time to look at your strengths, looking for areas to improve on, recognizing short-term goals and long-term goals. If you don't have any goals, start your list today. So you get to create your own successes and failures. Do be aware that I love this model of Gerhardt's window. And Gerhardt's window is kind of a psychology model where there are 4 different windows, and essentially it says, I know you know this about me, and I know this about me, or you know this but I don't know this about me, or I know this about me and you don't know this about me, and nobody knows this about me, not even myself. And that's an interesting paradigm, because we can learn from other people if we're open to learning from other people. Then we need to be aware of different people will see different sides of us. I like having the conversation of how would you rate a relationship on a scale from 1 to 10? 10 being it couldn't be any better, I love it the way it is, don't change, and 1 being, man, I can't stand you. You've got a long ways to go. And if people are saying it's a 5 or a 6 or a 7 or an 8, I dare you to say, what could make our relationship a 10? Having a set of gauges from people that you trust can build more trust, and it can help you see what you don't know. So that's Johari window, something for you to look at. So we've talked about ethics, we've talked about attitudes, and we've talked about the power of having a positive self-image. If you want to help build better relationships, give praise to people on a regular basis, and you can praise yourself for doing good work and recognize the good work you're doing. Never talk negatively about yourself. Be saying positive self-affirmations, either to your breath or to yourself in private. If you're doing positive affirmations out loud, people might think you're a little weird, but who cares what other people think about you. But just say, gosh, this is a good day. I'm having fun today. And so create an attitude in every moment that makes you really feel good about things. Avoid speaking poorly about yourself, and have a solid plan of action to create habits that will help you build better relationships and help you feel great about you. So really look at the values of people who are highly successful. Don't ever do anything unethical, and work on yourself. You're the only person that can create a better you, but you got to choose it. I'm Dr. Paul Gerhardt, and I hope you have a great day, because only you get to choose how you feel about it.